Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to build a website in React. It's going to be a simple landing page for a restaurant. I have implemented a nice hero section, sidebar, navbar, and also some animations, as you can see. And also I have implemented the smooth scroll effect. So if I press on menu, it's going to scroll me down to menu. If I press on stuff, it's going to scroll me down to stuff section. So if you're interested in how to build that, stay tuned and I will explain everything in this video. First, you need to create your React app by writing npx create React app and then the name of the folder you're going to store your application. I'm going to call it dessert app and press enter. After your React app has been successfully loaded, you can open it in VS Code and see this in app.js file. Your file will look approximately like that. So I'm going to remove all of that and write one word. Write yarn start and start your application. Then go to the browser and see that the React app has been successfully started. I have uploaded 2 files, images and data. You can find these folders on my GitHub account. Now I'm going to create a new folder called components where I'm going to store all of my React components. In this folder I'm going to create a new file called navbar.js and I'm going to write RAFCE control space and enter. This is one of the extensions from VS Code. If you Google React, if you search React in the VS Code extensions and search for ES7 React snippets, it allows you to do shortcuts like that to write your own function components faster. Before we continue, we also need to install a few important dependencies for this project. So it's going to be React DOM, React Router DOM, React Icons, and React Reveal. Press enter and wait until they load. So let me start with a navbar. I'm going to write something like navbar, and then I want to add this to app.js. So I'm going to go here and add navbar, control space, enter. So we can see we have an error because navbar is not imported. So I'm just going to press control space here and then enter, and it's going to auto import for me. If I go back to the website, restart, we can see we have navbar over here. So let me make navbar more stylish. For that I'm going to change this div block into a nav element, and then I'm going to add link. Inside this link I want to have a div with a class name of desktop, and it's going to have my website name, marshmallow and cakes. So we can see link is not defined, so we need to import this really quickly. I'm going to write import link from React Router DOM. Now it works. For our nav we're going to create a class name as well, and we're going to name it navbar. Then I want to create another div element with a class name of nav icon, and inside of there I'm going to have a React component called farbars from React icons. It's going to have a class name of icon. We can see we have an error again. If I go down, right, import farbars from React icons /fa. So whenever you want to import something from React icons, you look at first 2 letters and then write import from React icons and then slash, and those first 2 letters will be written down here. So if it was FE, you would write a React icon /FE space, and now everything works. If we go back to the website, restart, we see that we can't use link outside router. So for that we're going to have to go to app.js, and then we're going to import browser router as router from React Router DOM. Then I want to write router and paste all of this inside of here. Go back. Now everything works. So now we need to style our navbar. So to style my navbar, I'm going to create a navbar.css file. Then I'm going to create some classes. Navbar, navbar move. So this is for to move navbar up if it goes down too far. I'll show you later. And then I want to have a nav link. Nav icon, and that's it. So for my navbar, I want to make it transparent and make the height 180 pixels. It's a basic height for every navbar, and obviously I want to make it display flex. Then the width will be 100 VH. Sorry, VW, view width. Justify content. The content will be justified to center. Justify content center. Font weight. I want to make it 700. And then position will be fixed. And also I want to add a transition of 1000 milliseconds on every transform. And then when it's going to transform, I'm just going to move the navbar up by 200 pixels. Next is the navlink. For navlink, I'm going to write color white, font size 2 rem, font size. Display is going to be flex, align items center, text decoration none, and cursor pointer. Text decoration none means every time I hover over a nav link, it's not going to have an underline and it's not going to turn blue like normal nav links do. For my nav icon, I want to make a display block. Position absolute. Top 0, left 0. Then cursor pointer. Transform and translate 100% down and 50% to the right. Font weight bold and font size. I'm going to make it 2 rem as well. So if I go to my website and restart it, nothing works. That's because we haven't imported the navbar.css into my navbar.js component. So I'm going to write import navbar.css, and then we can see everything. We can see everything, yeah. The font size hasn't increased because I haven't imported it from Google Fonts. I'm going to explain this to you right now. So by default, I made app.css have a box sizing of border box, 0 margins and 0 paddings, and I made a font family of Playfair, Display, sans serif. This font family is not normally accessible for your desktop, so you need to import this from Google Fonts. You need to go to your browser, open Google and search Google Fonts. I'm going to open that, search for Playfair, Playfair Display. I'm going to select a few styles. I'm going to select this style, and I'm going to select style 700. I'm going to copy that and paste it into my index.html file in here. Oh, you can already see that it's already in here. Now I want to continue with the hero section. So for the hero section, I'm going to create a new file called hero.js. Inside here, I'm going to write RAFCE, and then I'm going to return a div with the class name of container. I want to have my navbar inside of hero, so I'll add navbar as well. I'm going to auto import it. Then I want to add a div with the class name of content. Inside this div, I'm going to have another div with the class name of content items. And then inside, I'm going to have a header and a paragraph and a button with a class name and a div with the class name of button. So it should look like that. Inside the paragraph, I want to copy the text, and it's going to have that text and that header. For navbar, I want to also create a toggle. I will do it later when I create a sidebar as well. So for now, that's it. I'm going to create a new file called hero.css to style it. Now I want to continue with the hero section. So for the hero section, I'm going to create a new file called hero.js. Inside here, I'm going to write RAFCE, and then I'm going to return a div with the class name of container. I want to have my navbar inside of hero, so I'll add navbar as well. I'm going to auto import it. Then I want to add a div with the class name of content. Inside this div, I'm going to have another div with the class name of content items. And then inside, I'm going to have a header and a paragraph and a button with a class name and a div with the class name of button. So it should look like that. Inside the paragraph, I want to copy the text, and it's going to have that text and that header. For navbar, I want to also create a toggle. I will do it later when I create a sidebar as well. So for now, that's it. I'm going to create a new file called hero.css to style it. Inside hero.css, I'm going to create a class container, which is a container for the whole hero section. It's going to have a background of linear gradient. I want to point it to bottom, and then it's going to be black, and the comma here. It's going to be black with an opacity of 0.8. And then I want to make another color. It's going to be also black and with an opacity of 0.2. And I also want to have an image as a background image, and it's going to be URL to the images in here. So to make it fit, I'm going to make a height of 100 VH, a background position, center, background size cover, and background attachment fixed. Let me go back to the website and see how it's going to look. Oh, so we have to add our hero section to app.js. I'm going to remove all of that and add hero.js. Oh, sorry, hero, and auto import it as well. And I don't need this navbar. Control S. Restart. We can't see it for some reason. I think that's because we haven't imported the styles to hero.js. So I'm going to import hero.css. Sorry, not hero.css. Yeah, it's hero.css, like that. And if I go to my website, we can see that we have a picture and a nice gradient with a transparency of 0.2 here and 0.8 somewhere over here. Sorry, 0.8 over here and 0.2 here. I want this navbar to be transparent, so I'm going to change this back to transparent. So let's continue with hero.css section. I'm going to create a new class, content, and in this class I want to have a height of 100 VH minus 80 pixels, so that's including navbar. And then in this content section I'm going to make a max height of 100%, display flex and justify content flex start, align items center. Then I want to add content items. For content items I'm going to have a display flex again. The width will be clamp 100%, 650 pixels and 100%. Then I want to have a flex direction of column. A height will be 100 VH. Justify content center, margin on left and margin on right. Margin on left and margin on top. Align items will be start, flex start, and then the padding I want to have 1 rem and 3 rem. Width of 700 pixels and the color white. So if I go to my website, yep, for some reason it's too small. Give me a second. Sorry, my bad, I haven't even defined the font size for the header and a paragraph yet. So for now I'm going to also add media queries for this content items thing, because we can see that the width is 750 pixels. So I'm going to add media screen will be screen, and the max width is 650 pixels. And for content items the width is 100%. Then I want to add nav head. Yeah, and the nav head is my nav header. It's going to have a font size of clamp 1, 3 and 5 rem. It's going to have a margin of 2 rem, margin bottom of 2 rem, letter spacing of 3 pixels and line height of 1. Then I'm going to add a paragraph. The font size on a paragraph will be 1 rem, 1.2 and 1.4. So who doesn't know what clamp is, it's basically like media queries. So whenever the screen is big, it's going to make it 5 rem, normal 3 rem, and small is 1 rem. Margin bottom is 2 rem. Line height is 1.3. And then font family, Open Sans serif. I want to have a button, and then a button will have a font size of 1.8, padding of 1.2, 1 and 2 rem on top, bottom, and left and right. And then I want to have a border. It's going to be solid, 7 pixels, and I want to make it, let's look at the colors, somewhat reddish. Then the actual color will be, white. Oh. Transition 0.2 seconds is out. Margin bottom 10 pixels and border radius is 5 pixels. And then for button, hover, I want to change the background and in the transition, I want to change the background, and the transition already exists in here, and make it cursor, and make it pointer cursor and scale up the button. So let's go back. Yep, the button has too big of a border, I think. Let's make it smaller. And in the navbar or hero, let's add text to the button. Book now. Yeah, nice. Actually, I want to make the border the same color as this button. So I'm going to make it 3 pixels and that. Let's see. Yep, I think it looks nicer now. After side link, I need button wrap, a side route, and the last side route hover. So I'm just gonna quickly copy and paste code into different sections and explain what it does. So by default, side container is going to have a position fixed with a z index of 100. So meaning it's going to be on top of every single element inside my web page. The width is 350 pixels, and it was going to be having a full height with a kind of darkish background. Display grid, so I can display items inside the side container, sidebar, and then all the items will be aligned to 0. Top 0, meaning there will be no space between the top of the window and my sidebar, and it's going to have a transition of 0.3 second is in and out, so it's going to slow down and go faster. And initially it's going to be outside of the view, outside of the viewport for users, and then when it's going to have a class show, it's going to be on the left hand side of the user's window. So now I want to do the close button. The close button will have a position of absolute and the top of 1.2 and right of 1.5. Basically, it's just setting it up in top right corner with this with the distance from top and right at these values. Background I want a bit transparent, and border I don't want to have any border, so I'll just make it transparent too. Font size, I'm going to make it a bit bigger than the menu items in the sidebar. Cursor pointer, outline none, sorry. And then the actual color will be a bit whitish, which is ft hash. Now I also want to add a transition to that of 0.5 seconds, so every time I hover over it, it's going to transform. And what it's going to do is just to scale by 30%. So for my side menu, I want to have a display grid as well. Then I will add a grid template. It's going to have one fraction, and then it's going to have grid template rows. I will do repeat 4 times by 80 pixels. So we will have 4 rows by 80 pixels with a height of 80 pixels. I want to align text to center, and at the bottom of every container I want to have a margin, so it's going to be 5 rem. Then a side link, it's going to have a display flex, and justify items and align items to the center, it's basically default. And then the font size is 1.5 and text decoration none, so when I hover over it, it's not going to have any styles. Then I want to have no list styles, so if I list something inside of it, it's not going to have bullet points. I want to have a transition of 0.2 seconds. I'm gonna make it a white color and add a cursor pointer. And then I forgot to add side link hover. Side link cover is going to just change the color to orange, and yeah, I don't need that here. Then button wrap is going to have a display flex with justify content center, and I just want to have a margin top of 3 rem. For the side route, I want to add an orange color. And then I don't want this to wrap, so I'm gonna add no wrap. This is just basic padding of 16 pixels on top and bottom and 64 on left and right. Color will be FFF. Font size 16 pixels. Outline none. Border none. Oh my god. Cursor pointer. And transition of 2 seconds is in and out. And then also text decoration to none. So when I have over side route, I want this to scale, so I'm going to make it transform scale 1.1, so it's going to scale by 10%. So yeah, 1 is 100% and at 1 decimal is 10%. I think that's it. Now I just need to add some media queries. So number 1 is that if the screen size is small, I want to add media query on screen where the screen size gets to 480 pixels. the height of each item in the grid area inside menu will be 60 pixels instead of 80 pixels. And also I want the screen to be full height. So if it's getting lower than 400 pixels, it's going to take the full space of the website. That should be it. Let's go back to sidebar.js. So there's one more thing I want to do in sidebar.js, and that is to add the button. I'm going to write class name button rep, and then button rep, and inside I will have another class name of side route, and it's going to, actually it's supposed to be link. I think it's supposed to be link. And then it will point to somewhere, so I'm just going to point it to the home page, and it will have a book now text. Let's go back to hero.js. We have added sidebar over here. Let me quickly explain how everything is going to work. So in our hero.js we have a navbar and we have a sidebar. So we have a useState hook for show and set show. We're passing this to sidebar, so the sidebar will know whenever it has to show and whenever it cannot show, and then it's going to be toggled from the navbar, because navbar has this icon. So like when this icon is clicked, this is going to toggle. We pass this as a function with a props function into navbar from hero. It's going to toggle and set show, and then because it's going to set show, the show comes here, and sidebar.js, because it's show, it's going to show up here, and in sidebar.css it's going to move on the right side, so its left value will be 0 instead of minus 500 pixels. So let's start the application and see if it's going to work. I'm gonna go yarn start. So as we can see all of the we can see the sidebar. That's because I haven't imported the styles into sidebar.js. So what I'm going to do is to write import sidebar.css, save, go back here, restart, and if I press, as you can see here, everything works. We have a nice sidebar. The close button scales up, menu item have an orange thing, and then book now has a hyperlink in that. I don't know why. That's because I forgot to give it a class name. So the class name was for that a side route. So now it looks like a button. So inside the side route, we just made the text decoration noun, so it doesn't look like a hyperlink, and then we just made a background, the size, the padding, and the font size. So that's pretty much it for the navbar. For the sidebar. Now let's continue on with the other sections of the website. So now I'm going to start with the cakes section. I'm going to go to my Visual Studio, create a new component called cakes.js. Write RFCE, control space, and enter. So now I want to import some components. It will be import cakes from data. So it's not a component, it's actually a data, which is just a massive array of all the cakes, not where they have an image, title, description, and so on. In cakes, I'm gonna pass a prop called ID. So every block component like that will have an ID. I'm gonna create a new div. It's going to have a cake container. Inside of here I want to have an h1, and then it's going to have a cake wrapper. Oh, h1, it's supposed to be a header, not a div with class h1, and its class name will be cake heading, and I'll just call it most popular. So inside of cake wrapper, I'm going to create a map. I'm going to run a map function. So I'm going to go JSX cakes dot map, and then I want to pass a cake and an index, and then it will create a new callback function, which has to return JSX. It's important. And inside of here, I'm going to have a cake cut. So it's going to be a cake cut with the key of the index. And then I want to have an image. Source will be cake.source, and alt will be cake.alt. So as you can see, I am trying to make it more reusable, so this component can be reused if it's using a proper data, and we can pass this data to props, but I'm just importing it from here. So inside, after we have created the image, I want to create a class name for this image so I can style it. I am going to name it cake image. Then I want to create a cake info section, which is going to have prop title, prop description plus cake price and plus, okay, let's just leave it as it is. It's going to be cake.title. I'm going to copy that, paste in here and here. Instead of title, I will write description, and instead of price, title here, I'll write price. I also want a button under each cake, and I'm gonna call it cake button. I'll just ask to select an item. Okay, let's try to add some styles now. I'm going to create a new file, .cakes.css, and then in cakes.css I'll have a cake container, my first class. Cake container will have a min height of 100 VH, so it's going to take a full height of the website, and then its padding will be 5 rem on top and bottom, and it's going to be taking a min width of 100. So it's going to have a width of 1000 at least in 300 pixels, because if the 100 view width will be your 1300 pixels, you subtract it and then you divide it by 2, you'll have 0. So the mid width will be of 1300 pixels. Sorry, not width. Yeah, so it's going to be width, and the padding will be depending on the view width of your monitor. Now what I want to do is to add some other styles. Background 150 FOF, just a bit of a blackish color, and then the actual color will be white. So nothing too complicated for cake container. Then I want to create a cake wrapper class. Basically, it's going to have a display flex and flex wrap. So every time the items, the width is too small, items in the flex will shrink. So for example, I have 1, 2, 3, and if it shrinks, it's going to have 1, 2, 1, 2. Justify content center and margin 0 on top and bottom, and automatic margin on left and right. The cake cut is simple, so I'm going to also make a simple width of 300 pixels, line height of 2, and margin top bottom is 0, and on the left and right is 2 rem. Cake image. So I don't like working with images, but that should be quite obvious too. I will need a height of 200 pixels, and then the width will be auto by default. I can just make it that, but I just want to make it obvious that width is auto. I will need a box shadow, so it will have a nice color to the image card on top, on bottom and right side of the image. Then I want to have a heading, and the heading will again be 2 rem, 2.5 or 3 rem depending on the view size of the screen the user has. The text will be aligned to center, and there's a margin at the bottom so that the heading is not too close to the actual content. So now I want to add a cake info. It's going to have a display flex and column, so it's going to be like name of the cake, description, and that's why it's in column. Justify content center, and padding is 2 rem, text align center, nothing too complicated too as well. Cake description, the only thing I want to do is to add a margin bottom so that the button is separated from the cake info section. Button and the price, and then I have a cake price, or it's going to have a margin bottom as well, and a font size of 2 rem. Margin top will be auto. Cake button. So what's going to happen here is default size. The padding top and bottom is 1 rem, 4 rem. Border none. Background is basic color of the website. What's that? Actual color is white, and let's make it FTFT. That's how we normally did it actually. And then every time I hover over the button, I just want to change the background color to this purplish color, and then a transition, I want to have a transition of 0.2 seconds, and the cursor is obviously pointer. Now I want to add this to my hero section. I'll go, oh sorry, not hero, app.js. I'll go app.js and add cakes, and I'll pass an ID of cakes. I rather better menu. I want to import that, refresh, come here. Nice. Now I just need to add styles to it. I always forget to do that. Cakes.js, import cakes.css, restart. Nice. Now we have that. No, we don't have that working properly. Now let me take a look at what's wrong. So the first thing is I misspelled cake wrapper. It's supposed to be 2p, and then for some reason they can't see the images. That's probably because I need to import images into I don't know. Oh yeah, I found the problem. So the problem is instead of cake source I need to use cakes.image, because in my menu file here I'm using as image attribute, not source attribute. Okay, so that should be good. Let's go back, restart. Yep, as you can see, everything works perfectly here. Now I don't like this kind of uneven style. So yeah, I have this is 4 lines and this is 3 lines. So I need to change that. So I have figured out the issue. It was app.css file. In my playfade display I need a comma after that. I didn't have a comma. And then another thing is in my cake.js I want to add, so I don't need a class name for that at all. I'll just leave it as a simple div, and I want to change it to cake title. If I restart it, yeah, that should all align. So another thing I noticed, I don't have a margin here at all, so like I want to make it a bit bigger. For my hero section I will go to hero.css, and then I'll go to nav head. And was it nav head? It was h1, and I didn't add anything to h1 over here. So I want to add Actually, there's already a class called navhead, I think. Yeah, I just need to add it to hero.js. So over here. And yep, now that looks correct. Let's look at the warning I have over here. It shows that link has to have a to prop, and it's in navbar. Yeah. So it is a marshmallow cake. So let's just make it go to home page as well. Restart, see, and restart the page. Yep, everything is good now. We can see everything works. We have here, and if you scroll, press menu, it gives us scroll read properties, scroll into view of null. Let's look at what the problem is. Sidebar, it gets document get element by ID, which is menu, and in app.js I am passing menu here. But I think in my cakes I didn't define menu, so I'm going to make ID equal menu. And also I just noticed another error. It's going to scroll us to stuff. Restart, and if I press stuff doesn't exist yet. I'm gonna press menu, it's gonna scroll me down to menu. Okay, that is all good now. Now I want to create a new component. Let's make a most popular favorite section. For favorite section, I'm going to create a new component again. I'll call it favorite.js and also favorite.css. For favorite.js, I just want to write rfce, and then I'm going to import favorite.css right now, so I don't face a problem later. Favorite.css. I also want to import favorite from images and favorite.jpg. Misspelled that. Okay, that's good. Let's quickly I will try to wrap it up so the video will not get too long. Div name will have a favorite container. Inside I will have a h2, and then I will have another container called content, another block called content. Inside of it I want to have one more div. It's going to have a text content, and it will have some description, and then a button to just order that thing. So I think that's it for now. What I want to do now is to create new component.favorite.css. It already exists. Favorite.css, so it shouldn't be too long. In my container I want to have a background color of linear gradient, so it's going to go to top instead of bottom now. Same colors, and it's going to have an image of restaurant to height of 700 pixels, display flex, and all the items will point to down, so it's going to be flex direction column. Then I want to have a content, so nothing too complicated too, only that thing as well. So the height will be basically 100 view height, except minus 80 pixels, which is a navbar. So I have a 700 pixels over here and content. Actually, no, I don't think it's going to work out well. So for my container, I'm going to also have an h2, and for h2 I will have this font size, which is 1, 3, and 4 depending on the window size. Margin 1 on left and right, and 0 on top and bottom. 0 on left and right, and 1 on top and right, top and bottom. Z index of 10, so it will be on top of most of the things. Then I will have a then I'll have an h3. Do I need an h3? I don't think I do, so we'll leave it out. So then I'm going to have a container. a paragraph. So margin bottom will be 1 rem, width 45 view width, font size it's basically same thing, width and text align. Text content will be having a padding of 10 pixels, display flex, so it's going to have a direction of column, max width of 500 pixels and width of 100% if the screen is going to get smaller. The image, so the image will be, I don't need that, the image will have 500 pixels as well, width of 100%, and then I want to also add box shadow of 3 and 5 pixels like I did in kx.js. I want to add some media queries for screen for 935 pixels, and I want to change the flex direction to column. Then I want to add a button. Button will have a font size of 1 rem, padding of 1 and 4, a width of 250 pixels, and background is orange as well. Every time I hover over the button, it's going to change the color to purple. Transition, I don't need a second transition, and then a cursor will be pointer. Let's add this to app.js. Favorite, and then I want to import that as well. Enter, Control S, Control favorite.jpg. Let's go here. Favorite.jpg. In images, so in images I have favorite spelled for you. Okay, and if I restart, yeah, I don't have the image. So the image, I need to add that as well later. So the image, I'm going to add, where do I add the image? After the, yeah, fav content, I think that here. And then I add a title, our favorite. And then the source will be favorite, class name, cake. Start the page. Yep, it's working now. Now I want to add a stuff section. So for the footer, I want to obviously create a new component called footer.js, and then footer.css. It's not the best way to actually organize your website, but I'm building a simple landing page, so I don't want to do a whole hierarchy of components and pages and screens. So I'll just check. I'm just checking everything into one single folder. So for my footer.js, I'll also create an RAFCE, control space, and enter. And so I also want to import footer.css, and I'm just going to copy everything from one of the existing folders, and it's just going to have a simple div foot container. It's going to have a display of flex, and it will display footer column 1. It's going to have, yeah, another column, and another column. In my footer.css, I'll have a foot container. So as I told you, it's going to have a display flex. It's going to be black, mean height of 700 pixels, and it's going to increase depending on the amount of items within that container. And the max width will always stay of 100 view width. So for footer column, it's just going to be a simple display flex property with the flex direction of column. All items and content will be centered. There will be no margin on top and bottom, but auto margin on left and right. Font size will be default 1 rem. Now I want to also add that 5 pixels, so that there will be a distance, some 5 pixels distance between the items within the footer column. And then I want to add that as well. So I don't have actually any hyperlinks in my footer, I think. Yeah, I don't. But like if you do, it's just going to make a text decoration none and color simple, same white as in footer container. So let's add app.js in here, footer. And I want to copy that as well. Footer, restart. Yeah, now we have a footer. Not the best kind of footer, but still something. Yeah, so I think the last thing that's left is to add some animations. So right now we don't have any animations. I'll start with the navbar first. So for the animations, I'm gonna go to navbar.js. Then I'm gonna add a new useState, const move and set move. And by default, useState, I wanna make it false. So I wanna also create a function, move navbar, and I want to check if it has to equal to the thing. So I want to check if the window dot scroll y is bigger than the actual window dot inner height. Then I want to set move to true. And then I just do return and set move to false. Okay, useState has to be imported as well. It's easy to do. useState, and then the class name I need to add it dynamically to my navbar. So I want to turn this into JSX as well. It has to be navbar and then space. I'll check if it's move. Then I want to add move, otherwise I want to have nothing. And if, yeah, so basically when I add move, the navbar will move up. Let's see if it's going to work. Restart, go down, doesn't work. Let's see why. Because I'm not implementing the function has to be implemented. The function has to be implemented somewhere. Oh yeah, so it's going to be implemented in the whole window. So I'm going to add window.add listener, add event listener. So on every scroll, I'm just going to check and move the navbar. It's a callback function, so we can't call it right in the function, right? Let's go back, restart, scroll down, it works. And so I didn't use 100 view height because, like, if I try to make this smaller, like here, you can see that the size of my website is actually gotten smaller, and if it go down, it still goes up regardless. So the last thing I want to add is React Reveal component. I want to add this to my cakes. Let's go import. What is it? Slide from React Reveal. So we have imported this from the beginning of the video. So it's quite simple to use, but before we use it, I want to just ask you to come here and change it from strict mode to fragment, because it gives you some warnings, this package, but it should be fine. Okay, so now I want to change it to ID that I pass, actually. ID, and same thing with chefs, I forgot to do that. No, I didn't. Okay, so for my slide, I want to add a slide component here inside the map. So I'm going to add slide, enter, and the whole thing will be inside of this slide. And then I pass the index inside the slide, because now it's a component that's going to be inside the function. And so it has a property of right and left. So it's you're going to decide whether you want this to slide from right or from the left. So now I entered right, and it's all sliding from the right, but I want this to be from right and left, depending on the row number. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna go right equals to index if it's bigger or equal to 3. So I'm going to make it to true, otherwise I'm just going to make it false. And same thing with left. question mark here. So it's simple ternary operator. Same thing I'm going to do with left. Copy that here, write left instead, and instead of big or equal, I'm going to write that. So if we restart, we can see that this one comes from the left and this one comes from the right. Okay, what else? I wanna make this animated and that animated as well. Chefs.js, I'm gonna do the same thing. Cakes, import that here, and chefs. So I'm gonna just copy that into here and delete this. And instead of 3, I wanna check if it's divisible by 2. So mod 2 equals 0 or 1, because I want the first one to come from the left and the second one to come from the right. So I'm gonna make this one equal to 0. Yeah, need to make 3 equal marks. Yep, so it works now. For my favorite section, I will do the same thing. We'll go to favorite.js, and just copy that from here. It will be a bit easier, so I'll just use slide on my image to come from the left. Copy that, paste in here, and slide on my text to come from the right. Copy that and paste in here. Let's look. Yeah. So from my website, my website now looks like that. It's all animated, shows up, and nice. So I also wanna go menu, scrolls down to stuff, doesn't scroll down. Cannot read property, scroll into view. That's because in my app.js I did not add this ID property. It's now. So I'm gonna add menu stuff. Restart stuff. So yeah, now the website is fully working. I just need to change the headers. Chef .js prod title. Instead of prod title, I need to use something else like cake. What was that? Cake title. Yeah, so now it's okay. Yeah, so the website is finished, and thank you for watching. This is it, I think. It's like I'm trying to experiment and get into this YouTube thing, so please don't judge me. If you have any feedback, you're more than welcome to leave it for me. I will try to improve in my future videos for you. Now, thank you for watching, and bye.